with me today is Ousha Demello. She's a publisher. She helps many people with their businesses. Ousha, so thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me here today, Philippa. Really, really appreciate you having me on here and share my value with your listeners.
The pleasure is all mine. So tell me about your business. What do you do and how does it all start?
So how did it all start? So firstly, I am a book publisher and I also help people create online courses. So to take information from their head and turn it into an online course so they could work less and earn more. But how did it all start is actually a long journey. You know, when people say, don't find your purpose, let your purpose find you. This is exactly what happened to me. So as a profession, I was a business lecturer and I was working hard, full time. And then I had a baby, not sleeping, and I felt burnt out. And then there was a time in my life when I realized that I needed to make a change. And that's when I started looking into personal development. And I realized that the education that I had in my normal education, the normal way, which is get qualification, get your degree, get master degree, and I done all of it, and it just led me to being broke every single month, although I was earning quite a lot, and being tired and burnt out, and it was affecting my health. So when I went into personal development, I realized that sometimes you really need to get help from people who's already walked the walk. And that's exactly what I did. So I went into mentorship with one of the best mentors in the world. His name is Jason James. And that's where my journey started. So I went into learning how to do public speaking. And through public speaking, I actually realized that the story that I had been keeping quiet about, being ashamed of, actually is my power. It's not I wasn't a victim. So I went through a very bad relationship with my husband 10 years ago, almost, sorry, not 10, but 13 years ago. And he was very abusive, and going through that relationship actually broke me a little bit until I walked out. And it took me almost a decade to feel better about it. But when I went into public speaking, when I had to share my message with the world, I realized that I shouldn't be ashamed of it. Actually, I'm powerful now because I came out of the relationship. I'm better, I'm stronger than what I think. And that's when I started sharing my story. And when I shared my story, it triggered a lot of questions from people. And then I felt like I was being overwhelmed with calls and messages. I thought, you know what, I'm going to write a book about it.
Amazing.
And then I wrote a book about my story. It's called Left in Peace, Not Pieces, about how I turned my pain into power, and now it's turned into my purpose. So because the book was successful, it became #1 international bestseller. People actually started asking me for help to write their books. And that's how my publishing company was born. So I started working and helping other people write their book. And I found a lot of passion in it. And it's exactly what this powerful quote says: don't find your purpose, let your purpose find you. And I feel very privileged that I am able now to do something that I love to do, because I know there's lots of inspiration, but there's power into helping other people turn their knowledge, their story, get them the opportunity to rewrite their story as well. And share it with the world. Because when we keep things to ourselves, we're not helping ourselves and we're not helping other people. And sometimes we underestimate the power of just sharing something. It actually empowers us first. And then at the end, your story could be someone else's survival guide. And I've realized that, and I want as many people to do the same. And that's why I find passion in writing books at the minute.
That is amazing. Thank you. And also, I think what you said about going from that place of pain to the place of passion is really important, because sometimes when you're stuck in pain, you feel like it's never going to end. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that there were occasions where you're like, I don't know how long I can keep going on with this. So for you to have gone from there to where you are now it's just wonderful. And it's a really good example how people don't have to be stuck. Was there one particular trigger for you that made you go, enough? What made you go, I need to leave this relationship and move on with my life?
Yeah, so the breaking point was when I decided I wanted to take my life because I could not take the pain anymore. And then when I realized just before it was happening, I realized that if I did take my life today, I would not be getting rid of that pain, but I was going to pass it on to many people who don't deserve it. I remembered my mom, my brothers and my sisters, and so many other people who loves me. And I realized what would happen to them, if I was gone and they don't know why. And that's when I decided to make a change. And my husband tried to break me into pieces, but I chose to walk away in peace. I never looked back. I never carried the baggage with me. And that's what I want listeners to understand is I know at the time I felt my story was the worst, that this was the worst thing that was happening to me. And I know a lot of people go through a lot of difficulties in their life. And my situation might be nothing compared to what you guys are going through. But when you actually just go through persistent and become more resilient and just try to break through, you will realize that actually all of this came for a reason. And to be honest, today I'm a publisher and I want to thank my ex for it. Obviously I would never thank him personally, but all that pain he gave me was for a reason, because if it wasn't painful enough, I would never have moved. And that's why people sometimes they keep on, staying in a relationship. Perhaps it's not painful enough. They're not making change. But when you make that change, sometimes you have to be worried about the decisions that you make at the time. Like I mentioned earlier, I was about to take my life. That was one decision that I was going to make that was going to drastically change my life. I don't know where I would be today, perhaps, in heaven or in a hospital. But today I made a decision that actually make myself better, make myself more powerful. So a lot of people, what you have to do really is just that moment of decisions to make a change. Because I think that's what the most difficult part is. These people don't make the right decision. And I know it's more complicated than what we say. But one thing I want to share is, how do you make that decision? And I want to share what I did later on when I was still finding it difficult to move on, was to have real visualization. So I just visualized myself 5 years later with this man, where my life would be. And I realized what I was going to look like. I used to look 20 years older than what I was when I was in that relationship because of stress. And I realized how I was going to look, and perhaps I was even going to be alive, how I was going to feel. And all of that made me realize I can't stay. I need to go. So I had all the reasons in the world. And that's one simple exercise. At the time, I did not know that was called a visualization exercise. I didn't know any of it, but it helped me just vision myself. What am I going to be like in this relationship, in this house 5 years later? And that was no brainer for me. I knew I had to walk away.
Oh, amazing. And again, your bravery is just, off the charts. But with the visualization's really interesting because, as you know, I'm a therapist, and I use a lot of visualization with my clients. And the power of visualization is the brain doesn't know what's real or not. So
Yes.
if you look at that future you and go, the brain will go, this is what's going to happen to you. And it can be quite a powerful, as you say, pull to either go towards something positive, or in your case, away from that negative thing.
Yeah.
And what I also love about your journey is, not only did you look at the negative and go, no way, but you then created the polar opposite. And I guess did you visualize that as well once you realized where you could have gone?
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, what I saw was worse. I don't think
Yeah.
there was going to be anything worse. And to be honest, I know I'm talking about a bad relationship here, but it works on any areas of your life. So when I was working full-time as a business lecturer before I go into entrepreneurship as well, I did exactly the same exercise. And I was working, I was tired, I was always, I was earning a lot, but I was always broke. I didn't go out with friends sometimes because I just preferred to save the money and things like that. So, there are things that I did which is similar to what I did with my relationship. Okay, if I carry on like this, where will I be? And I remember I actually sat down on I had a pen and piece of paper, because I could not make a decision because of fear. What would
Yeah.
happen to me if I left my job? What if I don't earn? What if I struggle with money again? Or what if I lose my identity as a business lecturer because I was so proud that I was one? So I had a piece of paper and a pen, and I wrote, what would happen if I stay in the job? And what are the possibilities if I left the job? And that was crystal clear for me. It was time for me to leave. And that's where my entrepreneurship journey started. And I made the bold decision. I said, I'm going to leave. and exactly the same exercise that I did, but in my head, visualization with my relationship, and I saw exactly what was going to happen. So that tool you can use in anything in your life as well when you can't make a decision. I know we speak about values and beliefs and all of that. And at the time, again, I did not know of it. But your values basically things that are very important to you. And at the time, and all my life, actually, my main value is peace and happiness and growth. And none of that was working when I was in a bad relationship, and none of that was working when I was in a full-time job. So it was clear for me that my values are not aligning with how I'm feeling, and a change needed to happen. And people don't make change because of fear. The worst thing you could do is actually stay in that same position and carry on thinking, what if? So sometimes you've had to make the bold decision. And now I'm not saying that things will work out when you change, or sometimes you leave your job and, oh, sugar, I don't have a job for another 2 years. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, because I don't predict stuff. But what I'm saying is you have to move, but you have to do something about it. The worst thing is to stay still. And worse to worse, if things don't work out, what you do gain is experience. What you do gain
Absolutely.
is clarity. And what you do gain is understanding of opportunities for you to actually do something different then. But if you stay in the same job, stay in the same relationship, stay doing what you always do and still not feeling happy, you put on weight and you're not happy and you're still thinking about it, just do something about it. Actually take an action. And I think that's the key here, because a lot of people don't do things because of fear, but you
Absolutely.
still
And
have to do it. If you feel the fear is fine, but just do it anyway.
I think we mistake sometimes the fear of change with comfort. You
Yes.
get used to how things are and you think, well, this is comfortable, this is safe. But the worst thing you can do is go through life with those what ifs. But
Mm-hmm.
it does take courage, because actually you're not just fighting against yourself, but you're also fighting against society's expectations.
Mm-hmm.
There's still stigma to leaving your job and starting a business, to leaving a relationship. And we can't underestimate the sort of the secondary guilt or the secondary stress that society, your friends, your family, not intentionally, but they put it on you. They sit there going,
Mm-hmm.
oh, have you tried everything? Are you sure about this? And sometimes, like you say, if you go back to your basic values, if you go back to what makes you you, and do that list that you talked about, and you wake up and you go, I am not living a life aligned with me,
Yes.
then there's nothing worse than to have gone through a whole life going, this is not me, but I've done it anyway, just because
Yeah.
someone's gone, well, it's risky, it's scary. But as
Yeah.
you say, to push through that fear, to accept the fear, because fear is there for a reason. It's there to keep you safe, or
Mm-hmm.
it thinks it's keeping you safe. But of course,
Yes.
sometimes it's just holding you back.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, from all my experience, every time I felt fear but pushed through anyway, I've always benefited from it in any way, in every single way. Like breaking up in a relationship was it wasn't easy. I wasn't happy in the relationship, but leaving, it's my culture. So no one is divorcing my old siblings and things like that. So I was the baby of the family, and I was the only one who actually left the husband. So it was very, I felt lost. I felt like I had lost an identity as a woman.
Mm.
You change your name, especially for a woman, it's a bit hard. And some people move on better than others. And for me, it was definitely not easy. In our community, we don't do divorce and all of that. So now it's a little bit more open-minded, but my family supported me because they realized there was something wrong in that relationship. But I had loads of support. And to be honest, one thing that I want to share is I did not do anything on my own. I was on my own for a long time, and I was struggling and I suffered. And once I decided to open up, I got help and I got advice. I had support, and I didn't feel lonely, because my ex, he was trying to, one of his strategy, I wouldn't say strategy, our method of trying to keep me in the relationship was to make me weak by making me feel lonely, not allowed to talk to my family. I was taking all my money so that I could not do anything else, keeping time of everything, and the mental torture and emotional abuse by him and his mom, dad, and 2 sisters. It was constant, and that actually, affected me. And I know I'm strong. I know I'm loved. But when people are trying to do it on a daily basis to you and tell you you're an orphan, you don't have a man, no one loves you, and keep on telling you that, it does affect you. We're all human at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But when I decided to open up, my whole family was there. I had friends who was constantly on the phone to me. I got help, I got advice. And when I did move out, I had a place to go. So some people, sometimes they feel like they have to struggle on their own. Sometimes you need to get help. Now, if you don't have family or people around you who you could trust, there are authorities, there are professional organizations, and actually went and asked for advice. I actually remember I Googled something, solicitor free advice and stuff like that. And I was in such a bad place at the time. I was desperate for anything, but I was open to help. And
Yeah.
I remember I just booked an appointment. I walked in the office and I told the guy what was happening. And he gave me some key information that helped me secure myself and feel safe. So for example, I'll just say, like, regarding my passport and things like that, my ex, he and his mother, they used to keep it. That was a way of keeping me in their
Keep
trap.
control. Yeah.
And I actually managed to get it, and I hid it. There were a few things, and I would have never have thought about these stuff if I was alone. And there's, people told me, they said, shouting, what does that mean? And then I actually had myself recording when I was getting in the house, because my hand used to tremble going in, because I would never know what's going to happen when I get in.
Yeah.
So I had my phone on recorded before I go in, and these were all advice that I got. And then when I actually shared those, they understood, oh my God, this is not real. You can't stay in this house. So people help me get out. And so ask help, educate yourself about, what's happening. And I know this is probably naive from me, but I did not understand emotional abuse or domestic abuse because I never saw it in my environment.
Yeah.
I've heard of it, but I never really saw it. And we respect older people. When his parents were insulting me and things like that, I just felt that I can't be disrespectful back, only because the way we've been taught and been brought up with lots of respect, love. Because I was the baby of the family, I was always kept in a bubble of love and protection. So I never really got exposed to bad people. So I did not know how to behave with them. Although I knew it was wrong, but I did not know what to do about it. So all I did was get help, and people made me realize this is not acceptable. This is what you need to do. And I listened and I educated myself about it, and I took actions then.
I think what your point about not knowing that you're under emotional abuse is really important, because it can be really insidious. It can start with small things, but that control that you talked about, the financial control, the passport control, the control of your time, these are all really big red flags that people need to be aware of, because it doesn't happen in a bang, does it? It happens slowly over time until you suddenly realize, or hopefully you suddenly realize what's happening, but often you don't until it's almost too late, as you experience. So I think it's really great that you can talk about that and go, look, these are the things. And I think the other thing is, we underestimate other people, because I know if someone ever comes to me for help, of course I'm going to say yes, but I have a reticence to ask for help myself. And I think we all do, because we're like, well, I want to be strong and independent. But I think your point is, in whether it's business, relationships, life, humans are stronger with other people.
Yes, definitely.
And as a species, very rarely will someone not help you if you come to them and go, oh my gosh, this is the situation, because they are your friends, they are your family, or there are organizations, like you say, that are set up to help. But having that first conversation, having that wake up moment going, I don't have control of my life, I don't have freedom, I think that's probably quite an overwhelming realization when it hits. And when you're on your own, from your case, when you had that aha moment going, this isn't right, did you find it easy to go to your family or friends, or did you go to the lawyer first? What was the easiest route that you could take? Like, who did you go to in the first instance?
So there's two people actually I spoke to. So the first reason why I also didn't ask for help was because I was worried that if family gets involved, it might get worse. And they were making it so difficult for me that I realized that if I bring anybody, they'll give me a hard time.
Sure.
And they made it quite clear. And that's why they were I wasn't allowed to call families and friends. So I had to hide. But when I spoke to my brother once and I saw my ex-husband walk in to the door and I said, I've got to go, I've got to go. And then my brother realized that why do you need to go? Like why? And
Mm-hmm.
he would not hang up. And it happened a few times. And then I told him. And then I had a friend as well. His name is Kavish. He's my best friend from a very long time now, 17 years. And I used to talk to him a lot, and I used to tell him what was going on. And he was like he lived quite far from me at the time, but he was always on the phone asking and checking on me and telling me, you need to do this, Ousha. You need to go to the police, Ousha. You need to do that. And it took me. I remember I used to go out for walks and buy vegetables and stuff like that on Saturday morning, and that was my moment for me to call Kavish. And I was telling Kavish, and I was passing by the police station every time, and he used to tell me, "Go in, just go
Right.
in." And a
Yeah.
couple of times, I said, "I can't do it, I can't do it." And then one day, I decided I will go. And when I did walk in the police station, I looked around, I saw people sitting down, and then I changed my mind and I walked out. And then I went back again another day and I walked out again. And on the third time, they did not let me walk out. They told me, "We've noticed that you've been walking around. What's the problem?" And then when I started talking, I said, "This is what's happening, but I don't want any problems. I just want to feel safe. And that's why I'm talking." But again, police doesn't understand. Once you've actually said what's happening,
They
they
kind of,
don't care if you came here to feel safe or not. They're going to take an action. And then the next day they took action, and oh, it was hell. When
gosh.
they realized that I went to the police, they gave me a harder time. My life
Right.
became real hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually had to go back and I said, I don't want to pursue this anymore. It was a mistake. But they gave me such a hard time. And it just went worse and worse and worse until I had help. And one of my brothers realized that, okay, one of my brothers came back from France to see me, and he said he will speak to the family. And when he realized that we could not even speak to them because they were so rude and very insulting, and then they realized, if you are talking to her like this while we are here, what do you do when we are not here? And then
100%.
that's when everything started. And then I moved out.
Well
Yeah,
done.
I just moved out that night, and my brother said, "You're not staying here." So, and it was very scary for me. It was very, very scary to go. And I'm thinking, now I'm going to be single all my life. What's going to happen for me? People are going to talk and say I'm divorced. And I just felt lost. And I'm thinking, oh, should I change my name? What do I do? I don't have a home anymore. I'm going to be living with other people. But guess what I did after? Actually, when I managed myself, because we were living in quite a cute little house, I actually invested, and I was renting at the time, and I actually went and lived in a very beautiful home, and I did it for myself. And I
Yeah.
paid a lot. I sacrificed a lot. I had to work a little bit more, but I did it for myself. I said I want to go home feeling that I'm going home and feel
Yeah.
excited to go home. So the place that I lived was actually quite nice. It was a complex. It had jacuzzi,
Oh,
gym,
lovely.
swimming pool and stuff like that. So it was, I remember going to work and thinking, I can't wait to go home. While when I was in a relationship, I was scared to go home every single day. I was
Yeah.
very excited in the morning to get out, and I was always very, very scared to come home. It was like, I don't know what's going to happen. So, there's changes that you have to make for yourself. You've got to take the action. There's many ways you have to work on your emotional intelligence.
Hmm.
No one told me. Everybody was trying to make me feel better, but everybody will give advice according to what they think. You are your only, person who knows the best for you. So I knew this is what bothered me, and I never spoke about it. That not going back in a nice home was something that would affect me. So I took an action, and when I was looking for places to live, I actually went in a really beautiful home, and it made me, and life just got better. I felt like a bird. I could fly. I was free. I was catching up with all the friends who I wasn't allowed to talk to. I healed myself. And
Yeah.
that's what people sometimes, they wait for other people to come and heal you. I'm saying I did get help. I did. But you have to do the inner work yourself. And people sometimes, they carry baggage, to keep on crying of the, past experiences, keep on bringing it back with them. And then you expect to have someone in your life that's going to make you feel better. It doesn't work like that. You have to heal yourself. I let go of the baggage. That's why my book is called Left in Peace, Not Pieces, because I actually chose peace for myself. My mental health, that was more important for me, and I did that for myself. And because I wouldn't say I was fully healed, but I was peaceful. I went into spirituality, actually started praying, I exercised, I was swimming, I was running, I was working, I was going out with friends, I was dining out almost about 4 times a week with friends. It was like I was living the life. So I did it for myself. And as a result of that, I attracted someone very peaceful. Like my husband now, I actually saw him, and I don't think he would have seen me if I was sitting down stressed and, carrying my baggage with me and then pass it on to him. He would have run away. That's what people need to understand. Like, stop looking back. I know it's easier said than done, but you've had to work on your emotional intelligence yourself. You have to make right choices for yourself. You have to choose what aligns with your value. Like you said, you wake up, is what I'm doing aligning with my values? That's when you're going to create that inner peace, and you will be able to move on, and then you'll be attracting the right people around you. And that's exactly what I do until today. And I'm the kind of person who doesn't get angry very easily anyway, but I'm not angry with my ex. I'm actually grateful, because I would have never written a book, and I would not even have a story if he wasn't in the picture as a villain. So I'm happy that he was the villain. At least I had a free character. I didn't have to pay him for this.
That's an amazing turnaround. And again, and you're so right. The only thing that we can control is ourselves. Like, we can't
Yes.
control what people think about us, what they say, what they do, but you can control how you respond. And building that inner world that you talked about is so important. And you can't always, or rather, it can seem daunting to go from nothing to something again. But people do it all the time, and you've done it again. So with the book publishing now, so what kind of people do you work with for your publishing business?
So I actually take different kind of stories. I actually expanded in things that I didn't even expected. Like, I did a cryptocurrency book, a couple of months ago, on emotional abuse again, domestic violence, and on wealth and mindset. So there's many more coming. It's not about what kind of person. It's about anything or anyone that can actually help serve the world, make a better place, and share strategies of their struggles. Is not any person who comes to me with a story. We just turn it around to, okay, this is a story, but we're going to make it a powerful story, and we're going to share strategies that will help other people who are actually going through the same thing as you. Or we're going to try to create strategies, information, and wisdom in it, where when people read it, they say, oh, I've actually learned something from it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm looking for. Really, it's not just about, I'm not going to say I can't take this story. So people are coming to me and are just assessing and seeing how we can turn it around. And when things cannot be turned around, I do have sometimes say no. Like, for example, I did have someone who's come with me regarding their dreams about God. So this is something quite tricky, and I'm thinking that is a bit, I have to be qualified myself to be able to understand it and things like that. So it doesn't align with my values, where I am excited to share it because I'm worried about it, then I would not go through with it. So, but mostly it's been positive, amazing stories. And I think everybody has a book inside of them. If you don't have, I'm not saying you have to have problems to have a story. You could have your success. Why keep it to yourself?
Yeah,
Share it,
absolutely.
because when you share it, people get to know you better, so you become more successful. And
Yeah.
also, you can go knowing, life is not guaranteed for anybody. So when you go, social media might not work anymore. What you say, you can't say it anyway. But when you have a book, it's your legacy. You've left it for generations and generations. So I think everybody needs to write a book.
And I love that. I love the leaving it for legacy for generations is beautiful, because I'm an avid reader, and I
Yeah.
remember growing up without, obviously, computers, and how much I would read. And I think only now in sort of my 40s am I just rediscovering reading again, because the last decade has been consumed by work and computers, and now I'm at a position where I can go, there's so much out there to learn. There's so many stories to be told.
Yes.
And I don't have enough time in my life to read them all, but I want to try. And I
Yes.
think it's wonderful that you're bringing that platform to people to tell their stories, to leave their legacy, as you say.
Yeah, and I've spoken to so many people who said, "Oh, I always thought about writing a book, but I know if I didn't have that conversation with them, they would never do it."
Yeah.
I just had a conversation with the previous book that I had last year, actually. The guy, he just said, "Oh, this I always wanted to do it." I said, "Let's do it," and it was done within a couple of months, and became #1 international bestseller. So I know things are just thought, and for myself, even for me, many, many years, I thought I wanted to write a book, but I never could understand which book to write. And that's what people sometimes struggle with. Okay, where do I start? Because I've got so many areas. I want my personal life, my business, I want about this is my hobby, you know. Sometimes it comes to you. And that's what happened to me before. I wasn't writing a book only because I had so many areas and I never knew which one to start with. And then when I went into personal development, I realized everything starts with you. So when I decided and I realized where my situation, how it made me feel, and I thought, this is a good way to start. And that's why I started with my book. So, there's many reasons people think it's unachievable. They don't have the time for it. That's why sometimes doing things on your own is not right. Get help. I got help and I asked for help. If you want, to build a house, you go to the right people. You want to paint your house, you go to the right people. You want to write a book, you go to a publisher. It's simple as that. So get help, and I think once you get started, it will get finished quickly.
Absolutely.
But people just don't get started.
You are, exactly. I think people overthink it, and like you say, getting the help just takes you from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 2, and that's all you need to do is step by step. You don't have to eat the elephant all in one go.
Yeah, definitely.
And you also help people create courses as well. What's that all about?
Yeah, so this came to because of a realization that I had when I was constantly working. I was struggling, and I realized, I was not sleeping because I had my baby Elsa, and but I still had to go to work. And I realized if I don't work, I'm not earning. There should be another way of doing things. And I realized all the education that I'm actually quite strong academically. Did a lot of qualifications, and I invested thousands of pounds in my education, and I was very proud of it. I was actually addicted to education and qualification and things like that. But when I went into personal development, I realized then there's two types of education: one that will help you make a living, and one that will help you live a fulfilling life. And personal development was the type of education that I needed. And that helped me realize that there's other ways of earning. And that's when I created my program. It's called Wisdom to Wealth. And it's all about taking information that you have in your head and create a course. Because what we're doing is every time we are sleeping with the information in our head, we are sleeping on money. These are things that people need. If people have come to you for advice before, or a couple of people came for advice to you on one area, that means they need it. Imagine those people who had access to you, but there's so many other people who might want the same solution. So an online course is the best way. And online courses has always been out there, but when we had the pandemic, it actually boosted a lot of people. Now they didn't travel, and I don't think it's going to change. It's going to actually increase. Online learning is the way to go. A lot of people wants to learn. A lot of people are becoming more open to personal development, understand about education. That's a great way of making your knowledge accessible to more people all around the world. And you've got to do the work once, and then you can actually keep on earning from it. I know, you can earn more while you're asleep, but sometimes you just got to get started to do the work first, and then get it out there, and then people will have access to you, to your course. And a lot of people have a lot of information. We have a pool of knowledge. If you go on YouTube, there's pool of information. But what people really need is a structured way of a system, step by step, where they're going to be taken from A to Z or A to B by someone who's already done it. And that will help them save time and save money instead of just learning for free here and then. That will be more expensive for them.
Absolutely. I love that again. And I'm a massive believer in passive reoccurring income, because but the secret is it's never passive at start. Like, you have to put the work in. You don't suddenly wake up and go, oh, I have money coming to me with no effort at all. Like, there's always effort at the start.
At the start, yeah.
But as we discussed prior to this call, the model that we're all taught is get an education, go and get a job, and then kind of, if you're lucky, you'll have enough to retire. But what I love about the work that you do, it is about creating that opportunity to live life in a different way because of these income streams. Yes, you have to put the work in up front, but it pays off down the line.
Yes, and plus it's all the benefit that comes from it as well. The flexibility of time. You get time freedom, so you can run the course according to your schedules, and you don't have to do it a lot of, like, maybe an hour a week, or what I do is a 7 weeks programs, and it's an hour and a half or 90 minutes, and then Q&A. But it doesn't take a lot of time, but it gives you exactly what you need to do for you to get started. And you can work anywhere around the world. It doesn't matter where you are, you can still be earning. And at the same time, instead of helping people on a one-to-one, you get to help hundreds and thousands of people. So, and plus, when you do an online course, it's not just the online course. The structure that you've actually created, you can use it for other models for you to earn extra income stream from the same model, but in a different methods that you deliver it. So it's something that I think everybody needs to do, because the information is your head. If you don't do it anymore, if you don't use it, you're actually sleeping on money every single day, and you think you've just got to go to work and share your knowledge there, and that's it. That's not life.
I think that's a great way of summarizing it, is you're sleeping on money every day. Think about that. Think about that opportunity, because we all need money. It's just the way the world is. There's no shame in that.
And one question I always ask people is, if you stop working today, would you stop earning? And if the answer is yes, then create an online course, because when you have a course that is online, is already there, you can actually carry on working while not being there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's so much uncertainty in the future with the world changing, and environment and resources, whatever you do and don't believe. I think there is uncertainty. So from my point of view, having that resilience, having that option to earn money when you're not still working, I think that's a really important message for people to hear, which is the only person you can rely on is yourself. So what are you doing to make sure that you're okay? And what are you doing to make sure your family's okay?
Yeah, and people who's got family, who's got kids, you would understand how your time is precious. And at the beginning, or when I was working full time, I was away all the time, and I had to drop my daughter to nursery, seeing her cry every day. It was very painful. And imagine the time that you could actually spend. And I'm practicing what I do. I actually have experienced it myself, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. And I do have time freedom. I'm actually flexible, and that's why I'm able to do what I do. I love doing what I do because I understand the value in it. I understand the benefit in it for other people. But at the same time, I'm living it every single day myself. Because once the course is created, the information is out there, you can work around it rather than you being controlled with time. You can control the time at some extent.
Brilliant. And last question is, what are you looking forward to in the next few months? Is there a big event or anything you're launching that's making you excited, or even just family stuff?
Oh, there's quite a lot happening in family, in the family. So me and my husband, we decided to foster children, and we are waiting for permanent placement. So hopefully we'll have our two beautiful girls coming to us very, very soon. We're still waiting. I haven't met them yet, but we know they are our match. So it's going to be a nice and busy home soon. And on a professional level, I'm looking to launch an online course of how to write a book. Because I realize a lot of people, they are scared to take the big step of writing their book, or going to a publisher. Perhaps you can't afford it, or you don't think you have the time. So sometimes self-education can help them boost that motivation and that confidence in getting started. So I'm working right now on launching. It's not ready yet, but it will be all advertised in the right time. On launching a course of how to publish a book, and also how to write an online course, both of them.
Brilliant, amazing. And where can people find you if they want to ask you more questions or work with you?
So I am on social media. So it's at Ousha Demello, my name, Ousha, and then Demello, Demello. And also my email address is success@theupliftedacademy.com. If anybody wants to send me a private message, but I'm happy for anybody to message me on social media as well.
Brilliant. I will put all that details in the show notes as well. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing. And again, thank you for sharing your story, because it's an amazing one. And it's important that people hear that there is hope no matter what your situation. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Take care.